Hello, my name is Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, and I am an abolitionist, a suffragist, a poet, and a teacher. Today I'm going to share a story with you titled Around America to Win the Vote: Two Suffragists, a Kitten, and 10,000 Miles. And the book is written by Mar Rockcliffe and is illustrated by Hadley Hooper. On April the 6th, 1916, a little yellow car set out from New York City. It carried tools, spare parts, a teeny tiny typewriter, an itsy bitsy sewing machine, one stout leather trunk bursting with useful things, two smiling women, and a wee black kitten with a yellow ribbon tied around its neck. The taller woman was Nell Richardson. The smaller one was Alice Burke. Together, they planned to drive all the way around America. It was a great big country, but they had a great big cause. I wonder what their cause was. Votes for women, Alice told the reporters. Votes for women, Nell agreed. They said the typewriter and the sewing machine were all a part of their plan. If anyone said women didn't have the brains to vote, then Nell would dash a poem off right then there to prove they did. If anyone said they should cook and sew and leave running the nation to men, then Nell would whip an apron up while Alice gave a speech to prove they could do both. And if the two of them could circle the United States 10,000 bumpy, muddy, unmapped miles, facing danger and adventure all alone with just each other and a kitten in their little yellow car, well, that would prove that women could do anything. So off they went. I don't know who told you women can't do everything. We can multitask. That very day, they had their first adventure when a horse pulling a wagon down a narrow road refused to let them pass. Votes for women, Alice told the horse. Nell tied a Votes for Women yellow daffodil behind his ear. Then the horse stepped aside and let the little yellow car go on its way. In Philadelphia, they stood up on their seats to speak to the great city crowd. Nell didn't need to write a poem on her typewriter or sew an apron on her sewing machine. Men and women cheered. But the next morning, so what do you think happened the next morning? So in Philadelphia, they were cheering. Blizzard, Nell and Alice dug into their trunk of useful things because women are always prepared. They put on their raincoats and their rubber hats and drove through howling wind and swirling snow to Baltimore, and it probably sounded like this. Where they arrived in time to be the guest of honor at a very fancy party. The trunk held a few useful things for parties too. The next day, when they stopped for gas, a crowd of men clustered around the yellow car. Alice hopped on the seat to give her speech, but no one listened. So she told them all about the car instead. Votes for women, the men said, and waved as Nell and Alice drove away. After a quick visit to Washington, D.C., they came upon the bumpiest and muddiest road yet. The little yellow car went bump and squelch and finally got stuck. As the car sank, Nell and Alice jumped into the icy stream. They cranked and cranked and cranked like chug, 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 the engine, but it wouldn't start. Votes for women, Nell reminded Alice cheerily. Alice grumbled, and good roads. In the trunk, they found a lantern and a blanket and a box of candy from their friends. They huddled, wet and shivering, under the blanket and ate candy till the sun came up and two strong mules appeared to pull their car out of the mud. Again, they were prepared. In Virginia, Nell and Alice passed the school, and all the children ran to see the little yellow car. They hung all over it and wouldn't let the women or the kitten go till Alice promised to send them a picture postcard from someplace extremely far away. They drove into North Carolina, passing fields of singing birds and butterflies and goldenrod, and nearly fell into a hole where a bridge used to be. Next came deep puddles, sticky clay, and thick, wet sand. In South Carolina, a whole town turned out and treated them to an all-yellow lunch. I wonder what types of things they ate that were yellow. In Georgia, they joined a circus parade. In Alabama, the two travelers sipped tea and nibbled on stuffed dates. Everywhere they met crowds, everywhere. Nell and Alice told them V for W. Outside Gulfport, Mississippi, the little yellow car finally found a mud puddle it couldn't cross. They sneaked the kitten onto the train and smuggled into a fine hotel in New Orleans. Then the little car arrived and they were on their way. So they didn't stop. They dodged bullets by the Rio Grande, drove on through the desert of New Mexico, and got lost for days in Arizona, till finally they reached California, where they won a medal at the fair for driving a long way to get there, all the way across America. But they were only halfway to the finish line. They still had lots of miles and lots of adventures on the road ahead. So by this time, they've been to Oregon, they've been to Washington, they've been to Montana, they've been to South Dakota, they've been to Minnesota, they've been to Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and they were almost to the finish line. And I wonder where the finish line was. On September the 30th, 1916, a little yellow car drove into New York City. It carried mud and dust and signatures and souvenirs from all around America. I wonder what those signatures were for. Two smiling and sunburned women and a full-grown cat. They arrived for a grand welcome. And a great big yellow cake. The cat ate 7 slices and reported in the next morning's Tribune, Votes for Women was on top of that cake. After 10,000 bumpy, muddy, unmapped miles, Nell was ready for a rest. And Alice, she turned right around and crossed the country all over again. This time, she took the train. I wonder why she took the train. And that is the end of our book.